There's a note in the chat. Oh, thank you, Mary. Yes, that is a replacement window so that I will not freeze next winter. The other window leaked and it had to be removed. So, thank you. Now, further to Brian's email yesterday, I spent most of the day so far just thinking, reading about Socrates and also about I also read much of this article called Mad Science, Sane Science, which I found extremely interesting, and I hope, and I want to do a ripple based on that article, Mad Science, Sane Science. And so in order to do that, I'd like to read a section of it to you, if that's okay. I better get a few nods. Yeah, okay, good. Thank you. All right. It's an article that appeared in on a website called Tablet Mag. And it goes like this. There's a quote by Ovid at the beginning of the article that says, "Alas, I smart from wounds that my own darts have made." And so it begins. The article is by Norman Doidge. Ancient science was attractively harmless. It saw human beings as inseparable from nature and tried to describe the web within which we dwell. Nature was looked up to with the respect one accords the divine. Nature, as the ancients understood it, was seen as whole, likened to a vast living organism, meaning something alive and organized. Nature had a purpose. Nature, they believed, could be understood, was intelligible because it was seen as a cosmos, meaning order or good order, or an orderly arrangement. And for the Greeks, anything orderly was seen as in some way partaking of intelligence. This kind of intelligence, called nous, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, the Greek word, was not merely the highest human faculty, but also a transcendent principle manifest throughout the cosmos. It was because the human microcosm mirrored that macrocosm that we had the capacity to understand and resonate with intelligible nature in awe and amazement. This was knowledge for its own sake, a dignified form of contemplation of a cosmic order that inspired the questing feeling that, according to Socrates, underlies the fundamental philosophic attitude, wonder. But modern science sees knowledge as power and science as a means to other, greater, more useful and more practical ends. Since its origin, modern science has emphasized that nature is harsh and often rallies against us. And so, following Francis Bacon, born 1561, died 1626, has come to see itself as a method of mastering nature for the relief of man's estate. That's a Bacon quote. Henceforth, utility was science's purpose, not wisdom, and nature was therefore not to be contemplated but conquered. To become our servant like a dumb animal, to be harnessed being a Baconian term we still use. Nature's purpose, if there ever was one, no longer mattered. What mattered was our needs, and what we needed first and foremost was to dominate nature. Thus Bacon weaponized the wonder that drove ancient philosophy and spoke of using the new science to extend the empire of humanity over the universe. He was to science what Machiavelli, to whom he explicitly said he was beholden, was to politics. He discarded the ancient approach to nature, which took as primary question of study how we might understand it better to live, quote, the good life in accord with nature, and replaced it with the study of the science as a means to acquire power, to master nature. In a philosophical dialogue, Bacon had an advocate say, I am come quote, "I am come in very truth, leading you to nature with all her children, to bind her to your service and make her your slave," unquote. Even if they had aspired to conquer nature, the ancients had, to use Bacon's term, too few instruments to measure and make things, and thus produced too few works to bring it off. We, followers of Bacon, now blur instruments and works together in our word technology. Bacon argued that to succeed, science and technology must henceforth always go hand in hand, and would need to replace the individual investigator with new institutions filled with armies of scientists. It was he who first articulated the STEM, S-T-E-M mindset, which New York Public Schools founded on, actually. If conquering, I'm nearly there. If conquering and enslaving nature sounds like the saber-rattling ravings of a madman, consider that Bacon actually did so change the West's mental set that we actually have, through science, acquired and become able to unleash awesome powers. What did he understand that the ancients did not, which allowed this to happen? For starters, Bacon pointed out correctly that while many of nature's patterns and activities, such as the paths of the stars across the sky or the habits of animals, were, as the ancients claimed, evident to us through unaided observation, there were also hidden chains of causes and laws that were not. Nature had secrets, and to take charge of nature, we needed to first understand those secrets, and to do so we needed tools to penetrate, his words, nature. This would be done, as he famously proposed, through something quite new, the scientific experiment. The experiment, he said, would find a way at length into her inner chambers. That's nature's inner chambers. Aristotle, he reminded us, had left nature herself untouched and inviolate, unquote. The new experimental techniques or arts that Bacon envisaged would not, like older sciences, merely exert a gentle guidance over nature's course. They have the power to conquer and subdue her, to shake her to her foundations, unquote. These experimental trials, his term still in use today, would be like inquisitions to extract the truth from nature, as an inquisitor would confessions and admissions from an unforthcoming witness at a trial who had something to hide. Bacon had worked in the Star Chamber, and he was a lawyer, and courtroom metaphors abounded. So that's 400 years ago. It was very, very interesting to read that, where that mindset, one of the originators of that mindset, and frustrating though it was to read, I have to tell you that Francis Bacon is my first cousin 16 times removed. And so these ideas actually come from my family. So what I want to do is to set up a ripple. Yeah, Mary, I agree. What I would like to do is set up a ripple that relaxes the gallbladder channel. I'm choosing the gallbladder channel for a couple of very specific reasons. One is that it has a couple of points on it that relax oneself in a way that one can pivot away and look at things afresh. And we remember that gallbladder, the gallbladder channel begins at gallbladder 1 at the eyes. And the way that we relax the gallbladder channel, like say in Qigong, is by doing these pivoting movements, right? Qi Fa or whatever like gazing at the moon, or there are so many countless Qigong exercises that cause a rotation of the gallbladder channel in order to relax it. And from an acupuncture point of view, the main point that performs that function is gallbladder 27, which is, some people give it the name, axis, the fifth pivot. It's called the fifth pivot because Jeffrey would call it the 5 axes. The 5 axes are the 5 major muscle groups that enable the trio of bony cavities, the pelvis, the thorax, ribcage, and the skull, to move both independently and as a unit. So there'd be psoas, diaphragm, paravertebral muscles, abdominis, and SCM. They're all relaxed through gallbladder 27, and then gallbladder 34, the young spring, relaxes all the sinews of the body. So if we're able to spin and create a ripple that creates a fresh view, this is not anti-science, it's just anti-science as ruler, right? Anti-science as controller of nature. I mean, where would we be without science? I wouldn't be talking to you right now, right? So have great respect for science, but not as the usurper of the divine, definitely not. So, so that pivot to a more natural view occurs through the gallbladder channel. And of course, for myself personally, I'm choosing the gallbladder channel because it is a yuan level channel, an extraordinary channel, if you would, that reaches into the jing and affects the 8 extra channels, goes into the brain and exits the brain, so as not to resist my own heritage. So that's the ripple. So the ripple we would be putting out into the world would be one of an embracing of science, because we're not going to battle anything, right? We can't get anywhere. Once we get into a battle, we become tight. But an embracing of science and an utter transformation of science, reverting it back to natural science, maybe the kind of natural science that blends harmless, wonderful progress with a profound respect for nature. So thanks so much for being here. Let's get to work.